I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Piqua City Schools Board of Education. It is Wednesday, September 20th. If everyone can please stand, if you can, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you can.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mr. Hiddle, could you please call roll?
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Bostic.
Here.
Mr. Ford.
Here.
Mrs. McMacken.
Here. Okay. Everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes from August 24th, our last regular board meeting, and our records retention meeting. If there are no changes, can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. And the same goes with our agenda for tonight. If there are no changes to be made there, may I get a motion?
There is one change. We did add the approval of Alex Schweitzer to the Piqua Public Library Board. That got voted on last night. So that got added on there to appoint her through the end of December of this year, and then the board will reappoint her for her next 7-year term in December, and then we'll bring it back here.
Okay.
So this is filling Kathy Sherman's vacant spot.
Okay. So we have to go through and approve those two, the board members for
We have to
the
approve.
library?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Any other changes? Okay. Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Mr. Bostic, do you have an Upper Valley Career Center update for us?
No, we did have one thing in the meeting, I had to miss it, it was the day of my surgery. We did do Anthony's contract, our treasurer is back, so that's good. But outside of that, I didn't attend the meeting, so.
Okay.
Well, they meet Monday.
How long are their contracts? Is it 3 years?
This was I think he got a 5-year. I think,
5.
on this one, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No one here from the public to speak on agenda items, so we can move along to Mr. Hiddle's agenda.
Good evening. Did anybody have any questions about the reports? One thing I will point out is we're 2 months in. Our revenue and expenses should be around 17%. And our expenses are at 17% and our revenue is at 32%. So we are ahead of that, but that usually happens because we receive our property tax settlement. And so that's a big chunk of the money. So then as we get further through the fiscal year, that'll come back into line with where we should be at. So, but everything is on target at this point for another year in the black, which is what we like to hear already 2 months into it, barring any unforeseen circumstances. The other great fun thing we get to do this evening is approve the FY24 permanent appropriations. The overall budget that we have put together is $60 million, and that includes the funds, the general fund, the PI fund, debt service, federal grants, food service, health insurance, and some other little funds. The general fund budget is $42,349,000, to give you an idea. We don't typically spend all of it, but we appropriate it so that I'm not consistently coming back and saying, let's keep upping it. So that's one thing that we're approving this evening. We're approving the salary and step adjustments that are in there. We have tuition reimbursement of $5,030.65. 6 teachers have earned their master's degree or master's plus 10 or master's plus 30, so we'll be moving those. And then we had some adjustments that we needed to make for some of our employees who had previous year's experience that we wanted to honor. And so those are all in there. Were any questions about that? And the last thing we have is the fund-to-fund transfers. We transfer money out of our PI account every year to cover the debt service for the renovations that were finished at Piqua High School this summer. So we are we're almost finished getting everything done out there in totality from last summer and this summer. There's some doors that need to come in that have been on order for a long time, but I'd say we're about 97% complete. And then we'll be finished with that project. So I'm very excited about that. And then there's a $14,000 transfer to the athletics from the tournament account. So that's the money that the district made from hosting and holding tournaments. So we put that money back into the athletic fund for them to support whatever they need in that department. We're fortunate that we don't have to transfer money to operate our sports programs or our food service at this point. So many districts have to do that, but we are not one of them. That's all I have. If there's any questions.
No questions?
We are. Not all of the equipment has came in yet. Again, that stuff's been on order. Some of the things that we just received notice on will be here mid-November because it's all custom ordered stuff and everything is delayed as usual. But hopefully, when everyone comes back at the beginning of the school year, or the beginning of the new year, it'll all be together. But everything is working well in the line. We weren't sure exactly how it was going to work because now they're entering into the kitchen area to pick up their food instead of us setting everything up out in the commons. And that seems to be working great. And so if everything keeps going the way it is, then we will probably add some seating to the commons next summer to be able to expand our seating there, and that could actually help change some of the scheduling at the high school.
Okay.
Because right now kids have to go,
A, B, and C. And those,
yeah, and so you can be split right in the middle, like in Kelly's Spanish class, right? That's when she's B, so she has to stop in the middle of Spanish and go to lunch. So we would just have A and B lunch at that point, potentially. So that will eliminate that problem.
Nice.
So we're working on it.
How are those parking arms doing? Are they,
So we tried them out for the cross-country meet, and it worked perfectly. It kept everybody on the north side of the building for parking purposes, and it allowed our runners to be able to warm up and cool down without being worried about getting ran over because they stayed south of the building. So
they couldn't get back where the buses park or behind the junior high?
Nope.
Okay.
We had it blocked off every which direction, so there is no way for anybody to have gotten back there without me opening the gate for them.
Or
But it
them
was
going up
perfect
on the
because the
curb.
buses came in to that handicap drop-off
Yeah.
area, dropped everybody off, and then wrapped back around and then started filing off over at the junior high. And we had, I think it was 42 buses that night, and we expect even more the next go-around. I mean, this thing just keeps growing, but it was a really good time. Lots of
Yeah.
fun.
It's an awesome event.
So that works. The problem we have right now that it's not implemented full-time is because we do not have the controllers to open and close the gates that we need to have in all of our vehicles, the buses, the city vehicles that use the fueling station. They got recalled because for whatever reason the battery would drain, like the button would just hold down, the battery would drain, and it would constantly open the gates. So they had to recall all the buttons. And so they had to remanufacture them, and so they tell me that it was 30 to 45 days, and that was like beginning of September. So maybe mid-October, late October, we'll have those and we'll implement that. But it works. We can operate them from our phones, but it's not ideal once they're down for buses coming and going. So
We've been using it at the end of the day for transportation.
Oh,
We've had
good.
the gates, and that's helped a great amount, keeping people from getting back there. Right. So, especially now the main gates will operate at the stadium.
trim a tree.
Yeah.
Smidge needs a little trim, but
It's long. It's big.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's agenda?
So moved. Second.
All right, Mr. Hiddle, please call roll.
Mr. Bostic,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Yeah.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yeah.
Mr. Frazier?
Aye.
Mrs. McMahon?
Aye. All right, motion carries. And the treasurer's agenda is approved. So moving on to Mr. Thompson and his superintendent's report.
Thank you. We're in our third week of school and things are going really well. It's operating well. Transportation did a fantastic job the first week of school. We did have a backlog of people that did not fill out their transportation forms, even though we sent out a number of requests to do that. But they worked really hard, got that caught up. Routes were improving day by day that whole first week, so they did a really, really good job on that. Operations otherwise are going really well. We got our report card, was released this last week. So we continue to meet state expectations with our 3 stars. Last year we set 2 goals, and that was to improve graduation rates as well as our early literacy scores. We did improve the graduation rate for our district, and we're just above the state average for that. Early childhood literacy improved by a whole rating. One of the things we worked on this summer was our dyslexia training, as well as doing our curriculum study this year that will help get into the science of reading, which is another new state initiative that the governor has put out. So we're excited that we were able to get that up. Our 2 biggest challenges in those areas that we talked about last year was attendance. We got our overall attendance ratings from last year, and the high school was at a 42% chronic absence rating. And that's really the thing that we're suffering. We got to get kids to school. Our kids have to get there. So overall in the district, it was 30.2%, which means they're missing 10% or more of instruction time. So you might recall last year at the end of the year, we met with students. We knew that was high, and we started talking to student leadership groups in each building. We got that data from them on why are you missing school? That was the main question. Why are you missing school? What's it going to take to get you to school? So we learned some things at every different grade level. We worked on that over the summer with our principals. They've set building goals with it, and they're getting that engagement starting to happen between students and staff at the building level, so our staff can hear that firsthand too. So we're starting to set some goals to get those students more engaged, more, coming back to the school setting. In terms of kindergarten readiness, that's one of the things that often feels it's out of our control because it's all the things that happens before they come to us. Those scores continue to be low. We rank mostly lower in the county and in our region every year on those. So getting kids ready for kindergarten is really important because when they come behind, that affects our early literacy reading scores. One of the things I did this last year was join the West Central Ohio Regional Educational Partnership, which is a grant that we supported through Edison. And we're trying to get a lot of community resources together to impact that we call it cradle to school or cradle to education kind of years. So how do we get more engagement with some preschool settings and different kinds of childcare that gets kids ready? What agencies can support families when the children are born to have the resources and the things that they need to kind of get started. So we worked a whole year on that. The grant was for 1 year, but we got an extension for another year, so we're going to continue that grant into this next year. So a lot of good agencies have come forward. They're joining that effort, and we're trying to look at how we can impact kids from the time they're born until they get into the school setting.
Dwayne, is the state requirement that they won't do anything attendance-wise if the child's under 5, is it?
For preschool?
Yes.
Correct, yeah. And they face the same thing. So sometimes, because there's no requirement for preschool,
Right.
kids don't have to go to it. So even if people sign up for it, they don't do it consistently. But what we're finding is a lot of parents are looking for childcare options for their work time, not necessarily preschool kinds of things. And they're different. There's different socialization, different development of like gross motor, fine motor skills, as well as being exposed to curriculum kinds of things with math, counting, reading, alphabet, those kinds of things. So trying to get that strengthened at an early level so that students have that exposure. Yeah. One of the things that, the one category we did not meet the state expectations this year was the progress monitoring. Math was our issue last year. It continues to be, but we studied the curriculum last year. We're implementing a brand new curriculum this year with professional development. So our expectation is that this year we'll get better with that. So that's the one area that we just did not see the growth in. We've reviewed the data. We're going to continue to do that. We've already met with one principal. We're going to meet with each principal by building to go over their data with them. We're looking for holes, target areas, things that they could do at the building level to try to get that work more focused. So, any questions with that? You have the information. I sent that out to you earlier this week. So, okay. It is Piqua in that town down south week this week. We will be playing our biggest rival and the longest rivalry series in the state of Ohio. It's always a fun week to have. So we're having our road rally tomorrow. That is all the seniors of all of our sports programs. They're going to go to all the different schools. The marching band will be with them, the cheerleaders. It's a great time because the younger kids get to see all the sports represented. The seniors have a great time with it, and then they have that big connection in terms of this is what you can do when you get to be our age. So we look forward to that tomorrow. Pep rally will be tomorrow night at Alexander Stadium in the practice field right next to that. That's at 8 o'clock. The team will be there, cheerleaders will be there, and the band will be there. We encourage the community to come out to that. Limited amount of t-shirts will be sold. It's a collector's shirt for $20 from the Pickles Moms Club. It is a shirt that depicts the perfect tie we have right now. So each team has won 66 games, and there's been 6 ties. So this year will be the tiebreaker. It's time to beat that tiebreaker. So if you want to get a shirt, those will be sold tomorrow night at the pep rally. And the game will be a whiteout for Piqua and a blackout for Troy. So we're encouraging all the fans to wear white for a big whiteout for the football game. And then finally, we're gearing up for homecoming week. We won't have a board meeting prior to that. So a lot of really great things happening. The course been selected. That'll be released here soon. Spirit Week will happen on October 2nd. We're having a really great parade. Our homecoming parade has become a really big favorite in the town. That's going to be on October 6th at 6:30. That night it will feature the court as well as our Alumni of Distinction people this year that have been nominated and selected. And this will be our 90th anniversary of our school fight songs. So at the football game, the first 1,000 people get the rally towels that you see that each of you got, and there will be a really very nice feature in the pregame. That'll be really cool. You're going to want to see that. We've got a really great event planned for that. So hopefully we'll get some people to come to that. And then, of course, the dance is on October 7th. So big Spirit Weeks coming up and a lot of things for our kids to get excited about. Any questions? That's
Okay,
it.
thank
Yep.
you. Now you can move on to your agenda.
Okay, we'll recommend the board approve the attached list of donations and grants for Piqua City Schools. Several donations coming in from different people and groups to our sports programs as well as our alumni group. The Piqua Education Foundation has awarded 1 grant already for the Museum in Motion for Spring Creek in Washington, so we appreciate all that money that has come in to support our education programs. And then recommend board approval of the attached list of technology equipment for disposal and removal for inventory of the Piqua City School District. As always, our technology department takes all the parts that they can save. They have boxes of parts that they can use, and we do use them because when things happen with students' computers, they can reuse those parts and not have to order, and it saves the student and parent money as well as the district. So we appreciate them doing that, but after they've stripped all the good parts, all that's left over needs to be discarded, so we'll be approving that. And that's it.
And today was the last day to purchase insurance for Chromebook.
It's worth it. It's worth purchasing the insurance. It's not that much, and it does protect you and your child for those unforeseen kind of things that happen. And I can't tell you how many times parents have said, I wish I would have bought that. So it's very worth, you're one of them. It's very, very, very worth doing that.
There
So
is a
send out-
rumor that we profit from this and that it's Jeremy's way of making extra money. It really isn't. We haven't profited from it. It actually helps pay for each other as it goes along. There is no profit making happening there. So there was a conversation at the sand volleyball courts last night at Tecumseh Woods about this, and they were giving my wife some grief about, oh, it's just a way for Jeremy to make some extra money. And I'm like, seriously, you guys, like, no, we're really just trying to protect you. They're not $50 devices. They're $350 devices, or even closer to $400 at this point. So it isn't.
The money doesn't
It's
come
worth
to
it.
us anyway, because.
Yeah, it's a whole
It's
separate
a company
thing.
that we work with that does the insurance, so,
Today's the last day to do that?
yeah. And we've sent out several notices again on that, so we're hoping that parents take advantage of it, so.
And then
If
Alex
not,
swipes
you
it.
still have a little bit of time.
I know.
That's it for me.
Okay. And then we have just that addition of Alex Schweitzer for the library board.
Yep.
Okay, if we don't have any questions, any questions? Can I get a motion to approve the superintendent attendance agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent's agenda is approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Mr. Lyons,
Good
please
evening.
proceed.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Very short agenda, which is great news. I'm going to just point out two things. We have two brand-new drivers on the road now. That's number 8 and number 12, Tracy and Paul, and they're doing a fantastic job, part of our additional crew that we brought on board this year. And we are onboarding 2 additional people that came out and said they were interested in being bus drivers. So we're starting that training process over with them currently. So outside of that, you have the update from Monday night. I think I sent that out. So the only thing we added was number 1 that wasn't on there. That came out yesterday, I believe, to us. So any questions on the personnel agenda?
Just have a quick question.
Yeah.
How many bus drivers do we have?
We are at 30 total right now, I believe, with our extra folks who come in every day, and we make sure that every bus seat's filled, right? So the first couple weeks of school, we were out, we had 2 people out with COVID, we had somebody that got injured, and then there was one other, one of our drivers was training, did not pass the initial test, which isn't uncommon. So we actually consumed all 4 of our extra people in the first 2 weeks of school to make sure the buses were running. So this week, we're finally back to, we're down 1, so we're using everybody but 2. So we're up a little bit more than what we have buses on the road, just to make sure that we have them all the time. So, good question.
Thanks.
Were the 2 new bus drivers and then the 2 that you're onboarding as a result of the transportation fare?
So 2 of them, 3 of them were from the fair directly. One of the new ones that wants to train only wants to do trips, which is actually fantastic because that's where we struggle. We don't get buses back till 4:30 to 5 o'clock. We have trips leaving as soon as 3:15, 3:30, so that helps. And the 4th one just came out last week. Somebody that I knew from high school and said, hey, I'm interested. I want a full-time position, not just a trip. And he wasn't at the job fair or anything like that. So I'm not sure, except for his wife works in the district. So maybe there's a connection that she made with him on driving. So we're going to get him started as soon as he passes his CDL test, the 4 parts. We always require him to pass that first before we start training him, which is what happened to some of our folks that from the fair that they couldn't get through those 4 sections on the test. So we reached back out to them to see if they want to continue to try, because they can continue to test without any kind of penalty, and then we can start training them once they pass. So
Nice.
You
Okay.
say trips, is that like sports?
sports, show choir, band, and it's something like every single night almost. So you got cross country and golf that need to leave really early, or if you're going far away for even like a junior high football game, if you're going to Xenia, you got to get out of here early, and it's especially challenging in the spring because there are places you go to play baseball, softball that don't have lights. So you've got to get them there early enough to get the game in before it gets dark in the spring. So, and then in the winter, you've got weather, and then you've got a ton of events. So winter's probably the biggest amount because of volume of games and events. Plus you've got show choir again with their trips. And then spring, of course, is the changes because of weather. That's what really gets us is, when it rains, we got to reschedule. The driver's not available, so you're trying to find somebody else. We're lucky that I'm not in charge of that department because it's a tough job, and Lugina and Donnell do a great job. So
They're that whole department is just really fun to watch right now. They're fantastic. They work so well together, and they're just working really hard. They really have each other's back. I guess that's the best way of saying it.
They're good, yeah.
They really do support each other, and it makes a big difference in the service they're delivering to the students. So we appreciate them.
Yeah, that is nice.
Any other
Okay.
questions? Thank you.
No, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the personnel agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Hiddle, please call roll.
Mr. Ford,
Yeah.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yeah.
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mrs. McMackin,
Aye.
Mr. Bostic.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries and the personnel agenda is approved. And nobody here to speak on non-agenda items. So our next regular meeting will be October 19th here. And may I get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries and tonight's meeting is adjourned.